Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. This one, we're attempting again to do In Your Wildest Dreams, Strongheart. For those of you that were able to be here for an hour and 7 minutes last week, we didn't have Marisa with us, which was completely understandable given her situation last weekend, and we had talked about it being our last show of this format, and God decided that didn't want it to go out that way, so our internet went out on our end here at the Cripps household where we're streaming out of. And there was a huge storm, lots of thunder. I think we even commented while we were doing the broadcast, like at one point there was thunder near my office, and it sounded like it was just right outside the window. Well, technically it was, but
yeah.
And fortunately, we didn't lose power, which is interesting because sometimes we lose power when it's just a little bit of rain. It doesn't seem to make sense. But we lost internet for a couple hours, didn't come back for, I think, 3 hours afterwards. They finally got it up. Never found out what happened. But anyway, we were not able to finish the broadcast. And so we're going to take another run at it and start over from scratch. And we're glad that Marisa is here. And so this is going to be the last broadcast with this particular format, this particular panel. And just to be honest, we have really enjoyed the time that we spent here on True Story Live with this format. We've been doing it for this particular grouping for about 2 years. And then there's very few people, except for Debbie probably, and a couple of others that have been here since the beginning. But when we started, we did kind of an open panel format where anybody that wanted to be on the panel could. A little bit of screening, but we had all kinds of people would come for one broadcast or a couple, and then they would go do other things. And we had a couple of mainstays, and then some of those people left. And so the only 3 original members that were there at the beginning are myself, Jennifer, and Glenn. And then all the other people, some of them I haven't spoken to in a couple of years. Don't know what they're doing or where they are, but we're glad that they were a part of it for that period of time. And we just feel like this particular format has run its course. It's not because we don't have a bunch of subscribers or anything like that, but it just seems like we're talking about some of the same topics, and we just would like to, if we do anything else with the channel, it's going to be something fresh and new. Also, Glenn, many of you may know his wife's health, and he expressed an interest to spend more time with her, and him doing the write-ups, although we appreciate it, they do take a lot of time and effort. And with me being the host, and heart, yeah. And with me being the host, I've always shared that I would prefer someone else, when possible, do the write-ups, and I could just concentrate on hosting. And then Jen got a new job, and which makes it difficult. She has to get up really early Monday mornings. It makes it difficult for her to stay. So we tried making it a half an hour earlier, and we only did that a couple times, but it seemed not to help a whole lot. So hence the reasons, many reasons why we're pulling the plug on this for a while. And we have some ideas for some future things, but I won't say anything about that until things get finalized. But I'm not saying it's the end of True Story Live as a channel. It just if and when we come back, it'll be a different format. I will say this: I have started True Story Live in the beginning to just do people telling their stories. And we've gone other directions. And if I do something, it's probably going to be something like the original format of people telling their true stories. And then if I can't get people to share their stories, then I might take a longer break until come up with something different. But anyway, enough of that. We're going to enjoy tonight's broadcast. This is part 4 in the series Glenn wrote, No Past, No Future. The topic, as I mentioned, is In Your Wildest Dreams. And as usual, I'll introduce the panel. My name's Jason. I'm the host of the broadcast. And with me, I have 3 wonderful people that have, especially this particular group over the past 2 years, have taken time out of their Sunday to be a part of this. And I have appreciated that and will continue to appreciate that. But it's wonderful to be here with this group of people supporting the True Story Live. So with me also is Marisa of the Nez Lover channel. And I always try to mention, if you haven't visited her channel, please do yourself a favor and make sure and go visit. Many of her audience has become listeners to this broadcast, and we're very appreciative of that. She does artwork and has a beautiful singing voice, and also the people over there are wonderful. So if you haven't paid her a visit, please go and stop by and show her some love. But Marisa, take a second to say hello to the peoples, please.
Hello to the peoples. Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Sunday, True Story Live. And thank you, everybody who's been tuning in and catching the replay and sharing it out on your social media. This channel has grown quite a bit since I first stumbled upon it, and I'm thankful, especially to all the Nez peeps who've shown love and support to True Story Live and the good people here. Thank you so much. I would like to say thank you to Jason, to Jen, and to Glenn for giving me such a warm welcome, for giving me such a fun and relaxing and grown up and safe space to be and share here on YouTube, which, sad to say, it's a hard thing to find. So if you're still looking around, if you're still tuning in and finding this accidentally, check our replays. Have a listen. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, now's the time. We really are looking for new ideas, new topics, new stories to share. In any way you want to contribute or share a story of your own that's really happened to you, whether you want to tell it yourself or give us the information and let us tell it, whatever, reach out. We will reach back to you. I will put my email in the chat as the night goes on, and I invite my other co-hosts to do the same thing. Some people like to talk to women, some like to reach out to men. Glenn is very good at getting back to you. I'll give you that much, Glenn. You really, I mean, I know you're busy now, but I've been impressed with how available you are to people having questions and ideas. So don't get the idea that none of us can reach out. We certainly can. And if we can't, one of us can't, we can get you in touch with one of us who can. So, yes, now more than ever, please give us thoughts, comments, questions, suggestions. Help us tell your true story live right here on True Story Live. That would be great. Thank you so much, everybody. As the course the evening goes on, if my people come in and I know they want their link shared, I'm going to go ahead and share it. If you don't want your link shared, please let us know. We'll respect your wishes. And as always, looking forward to getting not just hip deep, but chin deep tonight in our last show of this particular format. But worry not, God willing. We'll always be back with some kind of format. You know, we can certainly communicate and talk. Reach out, talk to us. We'll reach back to you. That being said, take it away.
Lovely. Thank
Jason.
you. Thank you, Marisa. I appreciate that. That was good. Jen, my amazing wife, is here with us. Jen, take a minute and say hello to the peoples, please.
Howdy.
Howdy.
When Nez was bypassing the hip deep, I was waiting for her to say face deep. I was picturing, you know how people do on birthdays where they stick their face in the cake.
Yeah.
Like, give it to me. It's good to be here tonight. Yeah, this doesn't have to be a sad
No.
thing. It's just, it's a new chapter. New chapter, and it's life is all about change and growing up and all kinds of good stuff.
Yep.
Jason and I were just talking about the other night, this outlook that we can sometimes have on life, the cup being half empty or half full.
Right.
And it's all about how you look at things,
Yeah.
we could choose to look at things through a positive lens. But I'm super excited to be here tonight. I was really getting into the show last week, and we just touched on. I think you had just read it, and I was like, "Ooh!" and then the Wi-Fi went out. I was like, "Dang it!" But I'm really, really glad it did, because I'm glad Maurice is here. So I'm really excited about getting chin deep.
Yeah.
And tonight's topic. And thank you, Glenn, for taking the time to do the write up. As always, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, you said a couple things I want to respond to, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce Glenn, the writer of tonight's write-up, our close friend from Australia. Glenn, take a second to say hello to the peoples, please.
Yeah, hi. Oh, crikey, I'm tired. Yeah, hi. Well, how do I say much more than that, other than, yeah.
Much more than hi.
Like Nez has canned it, then Jen's canned it, and yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think as I always try to look at it, and as pretty much as Jen said, when one chapter closes, another one seems to find its way to open. The universe provides.
Yep.
So we'll just let it happen and unfold and not push it. And
yep.
I'm quite confident that something will resurrect itself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a nice biblical reference.
Yeah, it is. That's right. I got it.
So yeah. So
yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Something Jen says about all the way you look at it. We did have that conversation, and in the past, when I started the channel, we started on Blog Talk, as I've shared, and I was thrilled just to have something. I had a handful of people that were willing to do it with me, and it was great. And back then, though, I became frustrated that nobody would share their stories, or very few people would share their stories. A couple people were willing to do their testimony. I guess that seems different to some people, because we have a handful of quote unquote testimony shows. But I was really upset by that, because I thought, I love stories. Other people love stories. Why would someone not be willing to tell their story? So that's then, and this is now. And I'm not frustrated. This isn't about frustration that we have put out there for ideas, and very few people have responded to that. It's not about, that we only have a few people that show up in the chat, or, we only have like 70 views per video. None of that has weighed into our decision. It just seems like we're covering the same ground, and the reasons I mentioned. So this isn't ending the current format out of frustration and throwing my hands up at all. I mean, there's not even a bit of that for me. Like sometimes things change. They change for a reason, and we open the door for the possibility of new things. And it's not a sad occasion, like Jen said. It's to stay on YouTube for as long as we have, and have as many shows in the can as we do, and have met some amazing people and covered some amazing material, and have grown as people. I mean, if you go back and listen to, that's what I did. I listened to one of our earliest broadcasts back when we were on Blog Talk. Those are still available. If anyone wants to hear those first episodes, shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to give you a link. Not on YouTube, on Blog Talk, before we switched over. And I was mentioning that I was a little green in some ways. I'm still decent in my own opinion, but I've grown a lot as a host and learned a lot. Learned a lot about technology and learned a lot about asking questions and carrying a show. If the topic is full, or if it's a smaller write up and drawing questions or drawing answers out of people and all of that. So I have experienced growth as a person uh, throughout this whole period of time, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for this current format that we've done it for this period of time. So I'm glad that Jen said that, because anyone that is still listening, I don't want you to think that this is like, oh well, people aren't doing what we're asking them to do, right? It's nothing like that. It just sometimes things feel like they've run their course. I think that's something Glenn had said, and I agreed with it. It just has run its course, and it just feels like it's time, with all the other stuff that's happening with scheduling and all of that. It just seems like it's time for a break, and something will rise from the ashes, or it won't. But channel's still going to be here, and we have lots of good material for people that are interested in that. If someone runs across the channel, they'll have plenty of stuff to listen to, and we'll go from there. Okay. Jen, if there's a couple people in the chat, if you want to say hello, and we'll get rolling.
Absolutely. Well, John beat Nez into the chat today. He's like, I'm first.
That's not an easy. It's not an easy task.
Nez is a quick draw. Nez is here. Face the Ace is here. And I think that's it right now. So we'll, as you always say, you'll welcome more people as they trickle in.
Also, Face the Ace vlog. So I'm assuming that may be the same person that's switching. So they're trying to give us more views. Just log in on both, right? Same person. They're logging in on one channel and logging in on the other channel. Thank you for that. All right. So as I said, in your wildest dreams, Strongheart. Welcome to part 4, the final of our series, No Past, No Future. This series has been inspired by the Audiomachine album Manifest, and tonight's selected song is Strongheart. The Audiomachine description is, quote, breathtaking woodwinds blend with elevating orchestra, invigorating synth, and magnificent choir in this ethereal and mesmerizing drama track. And the link is in the description. So how do we bring all together? How do we leave behind life's BS and replace it with something as real as it is surreal to believe it possible? Tonight's discussion focuses on the mindful state, harmony with life, others, and nature via the video Don't Force Anything on Your Life, which is a Buddhist Zen story. Link is in the description. I've cherry-picked discussion points which illustrate the mindful path. Non-attachment. This encourages us to let our attachments to specific outcomes. It is about not clinging to possessions or expectations. Non-attachment teaches us to focus on the effort and the experience rather than the potential reward. Think about how this applies to relationships with others and a higher power. Are these relationships based on your expectations of what will be provided, or rather what you can contribute? Acceptance. This encourages us to embrace life as it is without trying to force changes according to our preferences. Acceptance teaches us to recognize our current circumstances, feelings, and selves. Acceptance does not mean giving up on goals. It means acknowledging reality without letting it dominate your emotions and actions. Acceptance helps us to see others as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. Think about your relationships. How often has there been disappointment with expectations of yourself and others not being met? How different would this look with a mindset of acceptance and not trying to make life conform to our desires? Patience. This encourages us to embrace the timing of life's events without rushing or forcing them. It is about allowing things to unfold in their natural order. Where there is frustration in daily life, patience is about acknowledging frustration without letting it control your actions or ruin your day. Patience allows time to process rather than knee-jerk reacting to situations. Think about your relationships. How different might these relationships look if you exhibit with a mindset of patience with less outward frustration when things do not go your way? Simplicity. This encourages us to clear away excess to focus on what is important. Simplicity allows us to create more space for the people who matter most. Decluttering your mind allows one to offer full attention and presence, which are the most valuable gifts in any relationship. Think about your relationships. What things might you be able to let go of to be more available for deeper connections with yourself and others rather than the superficial? Gratitude. This encourages us to focus on the practice of recognizing and appreciating what one has rather than fixating on what is missing or desired. It is a teaching that a thankful heart can transform our perception of life, making every moment and every experience a gift. Think about your relationships. When you think of some things that appear to be missing from your life, how might you turn that mental picture around to now perceive this as a gift? The middle way. This encourages us to take a balanced approach to life by avoiding extremes. This principle is not about mediocrity or compromise, but about finding a harmonious path that avoids the pitfalls of excess and deficiency. The middle way teaches us to navigate life's challenges by avoiding extreme behaviors and attitudes. It is about finding a balanced approach that sustains health and happiness. We have all seen the effects of excessive indulgence and denial that leads to detriment. When one thinks of just these few principles, non-attachment, acceptance, patience, simplicity, gratitude, and the middle way, I trust it's self-evident how the adoption of such principles can change a life completely. Following on, it takes a strong heart to let go of habits such as anger, fear, retribution, affront, and irritation, etc. But it is a necessary step towards letting go of all that prevents a life of peace, calm, and harmony in the world. And then Glenn says, I close this series with 2 songs. Tina Turner and Barry White, In Your Wildest Dreams. Link is in the description. Life is too short to carry burdens. Let them go and live your wildest dreams. Treasure every moment. And then the second song is Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Link is in the description. And then lastly, a quote from our friend Paulo. Say no without guilt. Say yes without fear. I'll read the ending again when we're finished. All right, let's get neck deep into the topic for tonight. All right, so I'll read the first one again, just as I did last week. We'll see if we get a little bit further this time. Non-attachment. This encourages us to let our attachments to specific outcomes. Let go. Okay, let me start that again. Non-attachment. This encourages us to let go of our attachments to specific outcomes. It is about not clinging to possessions or expectations. Non-attachment teaches us to focus on the effort and the experience rather than the potential reward. Think about how this applies to relationships with others and higher power. Are these relationships based on your expectations of what will be provided, or rather what you can contribute? Now, last week I started first, so I'll do that again. And also last time, I think I addressed both of these, and then that's when if I remember correctly, that's when our internet went out. So obviously my answer is not going to be exactly the same as last week, but because I know how I want to answer the question, it'll probably be similar. So the first part of the question about relationships first, and then I'll address the higher power. I've talked about this before, but it is the best example of things that I have. In my first marriage, I definitely had expectations, not of the person, but of the idea of marriage. And I've shared that. It's been a long time since I've talked about that. I used to say that I built it up as an idol, marriage. I built marriage up as an idol in my mind and expected that that was going to be the thing that if I had accomplished this institution of marriage, then my life would be great. Now, I still believe that there was some of that going on, and I still believe that that was the wrong way to look at it. But I definitely had expectations, as I said, not as much about the person, but about that being married was going to do something to change me. And of course, now looking back at it, I see that that was totally wrong. And then there's another question in here too that I can fill it out a little bit more. But it definitely was, the idea is of non-attachment. So to me, I was attached to the idea of being married, and my expectations caused me to set myself up for a huge fall. And the fall of that, having been attached to the idea, and I couldn't let go of it for years after. It was more than just when it ended. It was more than just the grief that accompanied it. It was because I'd built up such an idea of this was going to be the thing I need, and now I don't have it. Now I'm not ever going to have it. It's never going to happen for me. Oh my gosh, what's going on with my life? It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And then as far as the higher power, okay. So as you all know, I grew up in Christianity and the idea of a higher power. And the question reads, are these relationships based on your expectation of what will be provided, or rather what you can contribute? And I shared that I didn't expect anything from God, because I just was told that he did these wonderful things for me, sending his son to save us from sin. And to me, he wasn't some kind of miracle worker, or it wasn't anyone that's going to give me a pony. Wasn't a genie in a bottle, especially when I was younger. I just was told he'd love me, so I loved him. It was really pretty simple. So early on, there wasn't any expectations of anything in the relationship with the higher power. Then as I grew, being around other people and hearing their expectations of God, praying for various things, job promotion, or, help with money issues or whatever, I started to pick up on the idea that, hey, I can have expectations of a higher power. There can be this idea that he's going to provide something. Still wasn't a genie, but I started to build these ideas that that God would provide these things sometimes. But then a lot of times I would pray for things like, I'm deaf in my left ear, and people told me, well, if you pray to God for healing in your ear, he'll heal you, or he might heal you. I heard both from different people. If you have enough faith, you pray for your ear to be healed, and you'll be healed. Well, I prayed very hard for years, every night for a long time, for him to heal my ear. And I had the expectation that it would happen. I mean, I was told by that. I was a little kid. People told me, well, if you believe enough and you keep praying, he'll heal you. Well, obviously that never happened. And that caused some frustration on my part. Part of the frustration was I must not have enough faith. Must be doing something wrong. I must be, my concept of sin when I was a little kid probably wasn't enough for me to think of myself as a rotten sinner, and that's why. But it was enough of an attachment to this idea of a higher power giving expectation that he would do something for me if I just asked enough, or I asked in the right way, or I was a good person. So that wasn't great, and I don't think it's a healthy attachment for sure. So that's what I want to contribute to the two questions, and thank you for letting me go on so long, splitting those two up. Does anyone want to take it next?
Where's Jen?
Where's Jen? Did she message?
She went ages ago. You better yell out.
Hold on. Did something happen? Hold on.
She needs to be let in.
Oh, well, I've got my screen covered up. I didn't. Okay. Sorry. How long
You
been...
are so fired.
Yeah.
Dog house.
How long you been gone?
Like 8 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I accidentally hit a rogue button and it closed StreamYard, and then I put it in the chat like, "Hey, Jason, can you let me back in?" And you were on a roll. I was like, "Yeah, he's not looking."
No, I got.
But that's okay. You're focused. That's good. Yeah, you're totally good.
Right up, all covering my screen. Yeah. Okay.
I knew somebody would let me back in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Embarrassment.
Oh no! Don't be embarrassed. It happens. It was totally my fault. I hit a rogue button.
I'm attached to embarrassment right now.
Don't have expectations on groups. They won't be mad.
That's why I'm not mad.
See, it's working already.
It does. It totally does.
It's working. I love it.
So based on I was trying to figure out how to answer this question, but Jason, you going first kind of helped with that.
Oh.
So I know for me, I have spent the majority of my life having some serious attachment to outcomes with God and with relationships, family. And kind of in this context, it's really twisted me up into a lot of knots, to be honest, more so with people than God.
Yeah.
With God, it was, expectation that when I asked Jesus in my heart, that worked, that he was there, his spirit was in me. And understanding that I was saved.
Yeah.
And in a sense, safe, you know what I mean?
Sure.
With that, earlier understanding of Christianity and growing up with the idea of hell and being terrified of that, or the left behind stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say that the majority of my life I've been very clingy, just being honest.
Yeah, no,
not so much of possessions, but expectations of other people. And I just showed this video recently to Jason that was talking about, let's see if I can boil it down and word it. So this idea of expectations of other people, and this person that was doing this particular video, she was talking about relationships, but it applies to other things. And I'm trying to, I'm feeling less eloquent this evening when it comes to boiling it down. But the video made me realize that I had expectations toward other people, unspoken for the majority of the time. And it helped me realize that I was entitled. I felt entitled for the people around me to change. Just for a quick example, like my family is very different from me.
Yeah.
Or at least they operate, maybe deeper down, they might be more similar, but they operate differently than me. And I just love very boldly and loudly. And I'm just very sensitive and emotional. And I expected that kind of love to be returned from my family, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I've spent a really long time feeling kind of left out, feeling disconnected, feeling neglected, and for a long time have carried hurt feelings.
Yeah.
But what this video was talking about was people's autonomy, and how when you're wanting to change other people to kind of answer or to respond to an expectation you have over them, you're not allowing them their own autonomy. And autonomy is self-governance.
Yeah.
Which I thought it just kind of blew my mind. So when it comes down to this with attachment, gosh, I just, I've had to do a lot of about faces and and swallowing some pills and being very confronted with some of this.
Sure.
Being able to look back and sort of be introspective of your own stuff is such a gift.
Yeah.
And being in a place where I've been more self-accepting in the sense of who I am as a person, who God has created me to be, instead of trying to be what other people expect me to be and all this other stuff.
Oh my goodness.
That has helped me let go of the attachment of other people being certain ways that I think they should be. And that's been very freeing.
Wow.
Yeah.
May I please ask you a side question?
Yeah, please.
after everything you've been through, particularly with your past marriage with your parents, do you feel now more steady on your feet, more grown up? Do you feel more capable? Do you feel more worthy? Do you feel you've come out the other end of all you've gone through so far? Like you've learned something, gained something, that you've grown, that you're coming out stronger and wiser for everything you've gone through up to this point. Can you say that right now?
Absolutely, Nez. That was worded so well. Yes, onto all those things you mentioned. And that is incredible too, because like even a year ago, with all the things I was struggling with, they were all connected to all the things you just mentioned. And it made me feel so much like a child. I still felt very much like a child wanting her parents' attention, just as an example.
Yeah.
And so going through all this and being able to look back and work through and heal and even be confronted by these things, truth, it's really, I feel like I've come out of the chute on the other end, and I do feel more grounded, more stable, more grown up, healthier, more at peace, more calm, more free to be myself, which is a huge relief, because it just seemed like I've spent my whole life fighting against that, which is, it's such a horrible and tumultuous place to be. So yes, 1,000 times yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great question, Marisa, and great response. Did you have anything else, Jen, that you wanted to add to that? That was a lot.
Let me
I want to
buzz
hear
through.
how Jen's approach with her higher power has
that's next.
fitted into this scenario.
Oh, yeah. I think I've shifted more into a very thankful and grateful state of mind and heart than being so needy. I don't know if that's going to make sense to anybody.
No,
but I spent a lot of my Christian life not in a place of, I don't want to say that I was never grateful or thankful. That's not true. But there was so much about my life that I felt like was off or wrong or messed up. I felt very messed up. So I felt like I spent more time asking God for things, and not saying that that's wrong, but I just feel like the balance scale was off. Coming to a place where even being grateful for the hard things and looking for the lessons within them, even as they're happening, has shifted. It's just been a complete shift to where, in regard to the Father, I just have a stance of being more thankful and grateful than I am where I'm always asking, through prayer, asking for things. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it makes 100% sense. So what I hear you saying, Jen, and I think this is important with this topic, especially, and just overall, when your mindset changed to you being grateful. Now we're going to talk about gratitude. It's one of the things further down. It's one of the points, right? But as you focus on gratitude and the way you answered the first part of the question with family and their expectations of you, so you are just in a place of being grateful, and your expectations from your higher power, in this case, God or Father, are diminished. You're not expecting him to do anything for you.
Not,
is that right?
I mean, not completely, but the scales have tipped way in favor of just being in a state of gratefulness and thankfulness.
Right.
Yeah, which is crazy, because when I look back at my relationship with God before, I just was and not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad to be in need.
No.
But I think I was looking at life through this lens of feeling like everything was wrong and messed up. And I'm not saying that there weren't times that it was, like, truthfully was or wasn't messed up. I think there was some messed up things that happened to me and that circumstances and stuff, but just my perspective changing to one, being more of a participant in my own life, in my own path that God has me on, but also being proactive and looking at what's happening and asking myself the question of what am I supposed to be learning here?
Right.
What lessons are is this tumultuous chaos or whatever's happening that's coming up?
No.
What am I supposed to learn from this? Instead of like, why is this happening to me? God, rescue me. Kind of a outlook, if that makes sense. Yeah. Well, it does make sense. Never mind.
It makes sense. You use the word needy. So let me ask you this. So do you feel like your relationship with God, you feel like you're no longer, because the word needy in a healthy relationship or in any relationship, really, the idea of being needy, quote unquote, is not necessarily a positive or viewed as a positive or healthy thing, right? So would you say that you're no longer in a needy place, either with family or with God? Needy, using the word the way people think of it.
Yeah, I would say no, I'm not in that place anymore. And I know we're going to get more into this further down.
Yeah.
But even this calm place that I have found within myself, has really helped me with that too. And it's crazy because before, when shit would happen, like my adrenals would dump, my heart rate would spike, I'd have a full body like reaction, which I've talked a couple of times about on the show. And now when stuff happens, like just last week, I'll give a quick example. We thought my paycheck was going to go directly into the account. It was my my third week of working, and the people I'm working for have me on payroll through their businesses, and it didn't come through. And we were getting a little bit tight on money that week, and we were depending on that money coming through. And so when I came out of the bathroom, because Jason and I were doing our devotions, and he's like, I don't mean to freak you out or anything, but your paycheck didn't come through. And the week prior, it came through at like 5 or 6 in the morning or something, maybe earlier. And so my heart rate spiked a little bit, but all of the other stuff that used to happen in my body when something like this would happen didn't. And I sat down and I remembered to breathe. And I was like, it's going to be okay. Like, we'll figure it out. I'll get to work and I'll talk to my boss about it and find out what's going on. And that's huge progress for me, because before, when this physical reaction would happen in my body and even emotional, I felt like I didn't have control over it. It just happened like this tidal wave crashing onto me, and there was just no stopping it,
Yep.
And the funny thing is, I showed up at work and I walked into the kitchen when I got to their house, and there was a check on the counter, and she had written it out to me, and I was like, But to even have something like that happen and to recognize, okay, there is progress being made, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those people where when stuff starts to shift and change, I had this innate idea that I wanted it to happen overnight. I wanted a quick fix. And so this past summer, through all this journey I've been on, this growth, it's been happening in little increments. Yeah. And so even recognizing the little increments and being proud of myself and being thankful and grateful has been huge too. And so then with all these tiny little steps, when something big like this happens, when it comes to finances, to recognize, okay, my heart rate went up a little bit, but all of these 5 other things that used to happen in my body didn't happen.
Right.
That's progress. That's awesome. That's worth being celebrated.
Well, I would agree.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. That was really good. Thank you very much for being willing to share that. Nez, would you like to answer? And do I need to read the question again, or?
I think I'm inspired enough just to go by what's been said.
Awesome.
I can relate to not only what you were saying earlier, Jason, about having certain expectations as a child.
Yeah.
And you think, God is supposed to do this or that. But then I can also relate to growing and maturing and seeing the other side of that now, like Jen was just saying, where she's seeing and observing the actual physical results of that control, of that not going into a worry or a panic attack, and actually, I'm not going to say needy. I'm not going to be needy. I'm not afraid of needing God. I'm okay with needing God, but I'm also, I understand the negative connotation that being needy can have when used in a certain context.
Sure.
But I'm glad that you can come to the point where you can know that you need God in your life, that you know that you need certain things, but you don't have to go into a full physical or mental or emotional freak out or shut down or what have you. I've been there with, oh my God, what am I going to do? To, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. I've had panic attacks that felt like this must be what it feels like to have a heart attack. You know, I don't know about you, but and you panic because of that. So I'm just glad that you guys have made progress. She's coughing a little bit. She's got her water. A young lady upstairs. She's okay. But it is a struggle. It is a process to get to that point. I believe when you can say, there's no need to panic about this. Glenn, the calm you have, some people never get.
That's true.
Some Christians never seem to attain that. And it's important to realize that you do have to live this life and just let things come.
Yeah.
And I find that if you have Jesus Christ, then everything is so much easier. Things get harder too. Oh, the devil's going to get on you if you're, fighting for Jesus. But I'm just saying, things get a little easier to handle. For me, my path, the lessons have gotten more intense, but it's also easier for me now to not have immature, ridiculous expectations or misplaced expectations in a naive or childlike way, but to have expectations that allow God, that allow yourself to move forward, to heal, to grow, to learn. I think a lot of times we can hold ourselves back or let our fear or our expectations hold us back when things don't go the way we wanted them to. Darn it. How dare they? I've been it. But I'm just, I'm pulling a Crips tonight. But hey, it's our last night for a while.
Okay. Get it all out.
Getting it all out. Why
Get
not?
It all out. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's good that we've all lived life enough to grow, to learn, to not be in those same scary, negative, kind of needy places in a negative connotation way that we may used to have been once upon a time. I don't feel that anymore. I hope none of you guys do. And Jen, I'm just glad that you're not there.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nez.
It's wonderful to see.
I truly never thought I would be in the place that I'm at now. I really looked down the path of my life out into the future, and I thought if anything, I thought this is just going to get worse as time goes on, which is a horrible outlook to have. I'm just being honest and transparent, but so to be in this place, like,
true. Sometimes that's true. And like Glenn says, you just have to roll with it.
Yep.
And you have to be thankful for each moment, because things could get worse. And things probably will get worse. But, hang on to Jesus and you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right.
All right. Thank you, Maurice. I appreciate that answer. Glenn, I'm interested to see how you answer. Is this calm that you have, is that based on that you don't have to think about a higher power? I mean, I don't want to answer for you, but is that characterization part of why you're so calm, or is it some other?
I don't have any. I don't really. My attitude towards the universe is that it will provide. That's it.
Right.
I don't have to think any further than that. All I have to do is just listen to my intuition. Be aware of things that come to me.
Sure.
I get a choice, accept it or not. So to me, it's everything I nut down to the simplest common denominator.
Yeah.
And that if there's never a thought, well, why would I need to have an expectation about any higher power or any other person?
Yeah, relationship, yeah.
Well, if we go to that, I mean, and I could relate to what Jen said, particularly because I was about her age, not giving too much away, Jen, when all this went belly up for me and I had to make a choice, I said, I can't do this anymore. I was ripping myself to pieces. I just felt like I was going to have, eventually I will be in the nut house.
Right.
With some kind of big, huge breakdown.
Right.
I could feel it coming, and I thought, well, okay, I've got two choices. I continue like I am and go down, or I look somewhere, somehow, to find something I can do about it.
Right.
And I went and did therapy and all that. That was peripheral. At the end of the day, I had to, and I was fortunate, I found options and I practiced them.
Yeah.
Very not dissimilar to Jen, but without a lot of the knowledge that I have now, of course.
Oh, sure.
So I just was reflecting on that, and I was thinking, well, the non-attachment was how different my attitude was when I had got to the point where I met Sandra, and I just said, well, if you, and her attitude was very aligned with mine in that, well, if you don't like the place you're in and you want to leave, well, the front door's open. I'm not attached to you enough to say, don't go. If you want to go, you go. That's a general principle. All you can do is give 100% of yourself to a relationship, and if someone reciprocates 100% of what they've got to give, and they don't align, well, what's the options here? You stay because you really can't stand the thought of being alone, or you say, make a choice that's good for you. That's the key. Let the other person do what's best for them.
Sure.
Let them tell you about it. So therefore, love and attachment, you can still love someone but not be attached to want them to be, tied up to you with a piece of rope. No.
Right.
It's the freedom that really
right.
is, even though it sounds like non-attachment is a sort of a dissociating type word, I don't care. And the fact is you do care, and it's because you care that you allow them the freedom to be themselves.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's beautiful.
You might find it interesting, Glenn, while we were talking, I was thinking about some similarities between what you went through and what I went through and the idea of attachment. Now, when my first wife decided that she was going to leave, and I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know about attachment. I mean, I knew what the word meant, but and I knew what it was related to, psychology, attachment disorder, and all of that. I got that. But when she wanted to leave, I'd let her go. Now, I had issues letting go of, like I said, the idea of marriage and things like that after the fact, but I didn't try to make her stay. And I didn't even know that it wasn't attachment until after the fact, that I was able to be in a place, even though I didn't understand what non-attachment was, that I was able to let her go. Because sometimes people try to hold on, like you said, rope, try to get the other person to stay or try to talk them into staying. And I did not do that, which it just amazes me. Because it seems like, because of the way I built up marriage in my mind, because my two greatest fears before that were being abandoned and betrayed, and I spent my whole life trying to avoid those two things happening, and here it was happening. It seems like I would have done more to try to rope her in. I'm glad I didn't do that, obviously, now. And the other part is that you got help and you made it. You're talking about it as being a choice. I think some people think they don't have a choice, but everybody has choices. It may not be a choice that you like. You may not like either choice, but we do have choices. And I had a choice to pick up my life and move on, which is what I essentially decided to do. Some of the things I was doing, like isolation, the way I dealt with everything wasn't healthy, but the idea of not being attached was good. And then the other thing I wanted to say just really quickly, with what Jen has gone through, I've told her several times, when I went through a lot of this stuff before we met, I didn't have a whole lot of support either. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about how to fix some of the stuff that I was going through. But the right people came along at the right time to help me get what it was that I needed. I'm the one that had to do the work. I'm the one that had to go through make the choices. But it just seemed like things happened exactly the right time. Even meeting Jen in the first place and her meeting us, and her getting involved in the chats with us, and it led to a lot of good things for everybody all the way around. And it just still blows my mind that that's the way that happened. Okay. Thank you everyone for your answers to that first one. We'll move forward. The next one is acceptance. This encourages us to embrace life as it is without trying to force changes according to our preferences. Acceptance teaches us to recognize our current circumstances, feelings, and selves. Acceptance does not mean giving up on goals. It means acknowledging reality without letting it dominate your emotions and actions. Acceptance helps us see others as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. Jen and I were just talking about this today, so when it comes around to me, I'll have a prepared answer. But the question is, think about our relationships. How often has there been disappointment with the expectations of yourself and others not being met? How different would this look with the mindset of acceptance and not trying to make life conform to our desires? Anyone have a burning desire to take it first?
Me.
You go, Jen, go.
Oh my gosh, this has been the trope of my life, and I just could not see it. I just felt so done to, and I'll be honest, I was in victim mode. I just could not see past the end of my nose, unfortunately. And learning more about autonomy, like I was mentioning earlier, really, really helped, because we are all individuals. We all have our own minds, our own experiences, our own reactions, our own triggers, or, there's so much that goes into what makes us up as an individual human being. And how dare I look at other people around me and expect them to conform to what I want and need? Now, I know there's healthy expectations, but sometimes those aren't even met. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some of my expectations from childhood, the things I wanted for my parents, I think they were realistic and valid expectations as a child wanting things from your parents, you know what I mean? But even in learning more about my parents' childhood as I've gotten older and they've shared a little bit more, holy crap. I mean, compared to that, they did do way better than their parents did, and did better in regard to our childhoods versus what they had. So going back to the question, crap, I just missed my spot.
How often has there been disappointment with expectations of yourself and others not being met? And how different would it look with the mindset of acceptance, not trying to make
how often? How long do y'all have? I could share every story. It's a long list. How often? It's too often. I'll boil it down to that. Too often. Too often. How different would this look with the mindset? Okay, so there is such freedom and acceptance, and I love how above, Glenn, you said that this isn't about not having feelings about it, not, you know what I mean, not giving up on goals, not having certain feelings about it, but an acceptance of this is what it is. The past is the past. We can't do anything about it. There's just, when I think of acceptance, I think of letting go. And I have to say, I think there's a lot of missed opportunities where I could have just loved the people around me instead of focusing on my expectations not having been met.
Wow.
Which is kind of sad, but I'm not going to go into a place of beating myself up. I'm just going to do differently from the present forward. And I know that I have been doing differently in the past few months, you know what I mean? But it's such a weight off. It's incredible. And not just that, but part of the spinning out in my mind and the thoughts, a lot of those thoughts that I was having on that stupid merry-go-round had to do with this very thing, just ruminating.
Yeah.
And it's such a thief, in so many different areas, not just in, being present with my family and loving on them the way I love, with no expectations, no strings attached, no conditions,
right.
No bitterness or hard feelings, it's such a thief. So just being in this place, it is very, very freeing. And I'm never going to go back to that. Ugh.
No, I don't think you can.
I don't think I can either. You learn to give to them what you want from them, that you probably never will get from them. But
oh my gosh,
giving it, and you're living.
Girl, you're tooting my horn.
Praise God.
Toot my horn. Seriously, like this is going to sound weird, but a couple of weeks ago, I think I had this epiphany, and I was like, you know what? My parents, when they were children, they did not get like the kind of love I think we all covet from our parents. And I told Jason, I said, no, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I feel like, and not in a holier than thou kind of way or anything like that, but when I give love to my parents and I give them attention and support and encouragement, it feels parental, but not in a I'm better than them or I'm their parent. It's nothing like that. It's just the only word I can come across to describe. I don't know if this is making sense, but yeah, like what you just said, Nez, giving them what I always wanted from them, and doing it with joy and doing it with just this overflowing love and this incredible peace and freedom. And it's just amazing. It's so different. Yeah, it really is.
It's mind-blowing.
Yep. Wow. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Who would like to go next? Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, I'll go next.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, I just had the doctor ring up, Sandra's doctor, that's all. I'll just
that's
sort
fine.
that out. Okay, I've just got to read this again. Okay, maybe I should have said somebody else. Okay, we'll think about it. Yeah, okay. I used to have that. I thought when I'd go on a date, well, I'm looking for things from people that they're going to demonstrate to me that's what I want, rather than demonstrate to me who they are. And it's a huge difference in attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave up. I just gave up having expectations, and I found that the less expectations I have or had, both, present and past, the more I actually received. Because people didn't feel burdened by having expectations put upon them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
Glenn. I think people can feel when they're feeling like they're obligated to reciprocate. I think people can sense that.
You said that, Jen, about
yeah, it's true. I think we pick up on it. The vibes are there that really. I think that brings our integrity for being there into question. If we're there to pluck things out for ourselves and not, it's the same idea. Oh, there's someone else.
Go ahead.
Would you mind? Go to someone else. I've got to answer that phone.
No, do your thing. All right. That was a great answer. Nez, would you like to go next, and then I'll go last, or do you want me to go?
Whatever you want to do. This is a pretty easy conversation to flow with tonight. I mean,
yeah, you're rocking it out. So why don't you go ahead and answer this one? How often has there been disappointment with expectations of yourself and others not being met? How different does this look with the mindset of acceptance, not trying to make life conform to our desires?
Oh boy, like Jen said, how much time you got? Oh boy,
let it roll.
That's why I'm so glad. I would rather just let go, let God. I'm not good. I don't know about any of you, but me, I'm not so good at making choices, making important life decisions. I'm really not the best person every time to, especially when there's, a man involved, let's just say. But
so
you know
funny.
what I mean? I would rather, at this point in my life, with all the important decisions and things I need to think about and consider, I get it now more than ever why Scripture tells us to seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and then all these things will be added unto you. That includes everything you worry about, everything you pray about, everything that used to get your dander up, everything. It includes everything. And I cannot express how liberating and joyful it is to finally get that, to understand that part of existence, of our creation, of our purpose, of our life in Christ. We make things so much more difficult than they
Yes.
need to be. Oh, now you know why Jesus gives me the look. Now you know what, Oh, I'm just
So
thankful
true.
to be alive. I'm thankful to have what I have. I do not have the time, the energy to fuss and fight and worry and obsess and all the BS that I used to waste time on, 10, 20, 30 years ago. I just don't. Who needs it? I'm much more happy and fulfilled now. I don't feel like I need to do certain things out of obligation like I used to. I've been there.
Yep.
You know as well as I do, Jen, how that feels. And that's not fun.
No.
No. So I'm feeling much better now at this stage in the game, at this part of life. I still got a lot of questions. I still got things I mess up every day. I still get the look from Jesus. I'm sure I do. But I don't feel so overwhelmed. I don't feel so oppressed and burdened and weighed down. I don't feel like I'm on the merry-go-round that I used to be in. So thank God for that. I'm glad you're off yours.
Amen. Yes. What an
All right,
incredible
I'm done
thing.
being trips. I'm going to shut up.
All right. All right. So,
all right.
yeah. So, how often has there been disappointment with expectations of yourself and others not being met? My whole life up until I think it really changed for me. And well, it changed for me when my divorce happened because I didn't expect anything from anyone after that, and I didn't expect anything from myself either. And I didn't expect anything from God because, as I've shared, I felt like I had failed Him by overlooking red flags and marrying the wrong person, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so when I read this question last week, and then when I had more time to think about it up until tonight, it occurred to me that the very thing I was afraid of being betrayed and abandoned, but I did it to myself long before anyone else was able to do it to me. Because the expectations of myself, the disappointment that I had in who I was as a person in some ways, was worse than anything anyone else could have done to me.
Wow.
I expected things of myself and then beat myself up that I wasn't doing it. And a lot of these things were related to physical. I carried too much weight around, and so I rejected myself before anyone else could reject me. I avoided relationships because I was judging myself as, well, you're overweight, so no one's going to love you. You don't have enough money. No, I mean, I had money at times, but
Can I ask you a side question?
Well, could I just finish my sentence and then yes, absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
So I would never have enough money. I was hearing that women need security, and I was thinking that I didn't have enough money to offer that to anyone. So those two things mainly. I was disappointed in myself and upset that I wasn't doing what was necessary to get there. Go ahead, Marisa. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just popped in my head, and I don't want to forget it. How much would you say what you went through, what you just expressed, the doubts, the fears, the disappointments, how much would you say came from your folks, your parents, the negative people in your family, as opposed to how much were genuinely from you yourself?
Ugh.
If you know what I mean.
I
I know some things come at us from our family. Some things are from inside us. That was the only question I had.
No, that's a fantastic question, and honestly, it would have been, I would say, 99% came from other people. And I take responsibility that I allowed that to happen. So that was my fault. That's on me. That's not anyone else. The people can try to put stuff on you and cover you up with their own insecurities and their own fears and things like that. But my parents were obsessed about my weight, and I didn't. I wasn't obsessed with it, especially when I was younger. I wasn't worried about it. And then other people outside of my family, when I would mention, oh, my parents put me on a diet, they said, well, what are they worried about? When you get your growth spurt, you're gonna grow out of your little chubbiness. That, like, they didn't seem to be worried about it. My parents were just so focused on it all the time, as I've shared, and they controlled everything I did. And so that's a great question. I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, I don't think they came from inside me. As I've shared, when I was a kid, I was just happy to be alive. I just wanted to be everyone's friend. And you pick up on what other people, your parents' fears, people around you, listen to what they think is important. Like this idea of women needing security, that didn't come from me. I just wanted to find a woman that liked me and I liked her and settle down. That's it. So obviously I'm not blaming them for that, but that's my answer to your question. I think it's a great question. So it falls right in this idea that you can allow other people's stuff to be put on you, and it's my theory that we're born into this world perfect, and people can disagree with that, but a baby, I'm sorry, is not a viper in a diaper. They're not some horrible creature because they have only one way to communicate, through crying, and they're trying to tell their caretakers that they need food, a diaper change, human touch, or sleep. There are 4 things that a baby needs, or know that they need, somehow innately know that they need. But so even with that, though, it took me feeling the disappointment externally and dealing with that to get over myself and realize that that I was enough. And love is extremely healing. And when I met Jen, she was a very loving person, even with the things she struggled with. For some reason, she was able to see me clearly, even despite my own insecurities. And I felt like I could see her through hers. And I think it's an absolute miracle. And through that, it has helped me heal and take a fresh look at myself and realize that not everyone expects their husband to have millions of dollars or $100,000 a year or whatever. Because of what Jen went through, those things were not as important as someone who treats her like a human being, who cares about her needs. Well, I've got that. I never struggled with that. So I worked through these things, obviously. I mean, some things still come up from time to time for me. I still have to remind myself, and I've made a lot of progress too by actually taking care of the problem in the first place. Made a lot of progress. I'm not where I want to be physically yet, and I'm not where I want to be financially. But the love of a good person who cares about other things that are deeper and more fulfilling and more important is one of the greatest healing things I could ever imagine. So that's my answer to that. I'll answer this. How different would this look with the mindset of acceptance, not trying to make life conform to our desires? It makes all the difference. Completely different ball game. When you accept that some things are what they are, and there's nothing you can do to change it. You're not trying to make external things do what you want them to do. All you can do is change the things that you can change. I mean, it's a kind of, to a lot of people, it's a trite saying, but the Al-Anon and AA thing, the Serenity Prayer, change what you can and pray for the wisdom to know the difference between what you can change and what you can't change.
I was just thinking that. Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's a very apt prayer. And it ties into this thing. Acceptance is a big deal, not just in the whole mindfulness universe, but just in general, being accepting of certain things that you can't change, and learning to tell the difference between what you can work on and change about yourself and what you can't. I mean, there are certain things. I mentioned my being deaf in my left ear. I can't do anything to change that. I literally can't do anything. There's not enough prayer. There's not a medical thing that I could do to make my left ear open up. So why focus on it? I don't pray about it anymore. I don't fixate on it. I mean, yeah, do I wish I could hear like other people? Yeah, but also I'm grateful that I'm not deaf in my other ear too. I mean, that could have been a thing. I could have been born completely deaf. Would I have adjusted that? Well, sure. People do. There are plenty of people that are born deaf and they've never been able to hear a single sound. So how grateful am I that I have this other ear that is off the charts with the hearing level. At least it was. I haven't had it checked in a while, but I'm grateful that I have that. All right. I want to say hello to Bobby Meyer, who popped in the chat, one of our favorites. Hello, Bobby. Hope you're doing well. Glad that you're here.
Hi, Bobby.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. What one thing she said in the chat says, I don't avoid relationships because I judge myself. I avoid relationships because I judge others. LOL.
That's better, Bobby. It's better to judge other people than yourself. Okay, next one, acceptance. This encourages us to embrace life as it is without trying to force changes according to our preferences. Acceptance teaches us to recognize our current circumstances, feelings, and selves. Acceptance does not mean giving up on goals. It means acknowledging reality without letting it dominate your emotions and actions. Acceptance helps us to see others as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. Think about your relationships. How often has there been disappointment with expectations? Wait, I already read that one.
Did you?
Did I? What? Hold on.
I don't.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I did. My fault. Okay. Patience is the next. Scroll down, Crip. Scroll down, buddy.
Get it together,
Hey,
Crip.
Easy.
Cripps, I'm going to run to the restroom real quick while you read the next one.
No problem. Okay, next one's patience. This encourages us to embrace the timing of life's events without rushing or forcing them. It is about allowing things to unfold in their natural order. Where there is frustration in daily life, patience is about acknowledging frustration without letting it control your actions or ruin your day. Patience allows time to process rather than knee-jerk reacting to situations. So the question is, think about your relationships. How different might these relationships look if you exhibit with a mindset of patience, with less outward frustration when things do not go your way? And I just answered, so we'll let someone else answer. Let's go to Glenn first. How different might these relationships look if you exhibit with a mindset of patience, with less outward frustration when things do not go your way?
Yeah, a lot. You don't get. I gave all that other stuff up. It was just a waste of time. Just look, it's going to unfold. It's like having a racehorse. You want it. You get a racehorse and it grows and something happens to it. It's got to go in the paddock for 3 months. Well, you learn. Horse racing teaches you patience. Let me tell you. So you just got to learn. Just learning to accept that you can't push yourself through the time barrier. It just doesn't work. It just causes you aggravation. So just keep calm. Yeah, I think it's huge. Patience is such a virtue.
Yeah.
From the old proverb, it is.
No, it is.
Just having patience, trying to, yourself. You try to. In the line of traffic, you try to push yourself to get past that one car, and then you find that 5 miles ahead you're still in the same place. What's the point? Just sit there, just chill out.
Yep.
Yeah, it works. It works, and no aggro. That's really good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Easy.
Marisa, how different might these relationships look if you exhibit with a mindset of patience, with less outward frustration when things don't go your way?
How different would the whole world look if we all learned the mindset of patience indeed? And that's
place.
one of the things I struggle with. I still get a mite impatient. Yeah. That's one I still deal with. But I think I've made a little progress. I would like to hope that I have. But yeah, patience has never been my strong suit.
Yeah.
Well, I can't help it. I'm trying to do better.
Well, sure. Trying is important.
I can't help it. I can't help it. Yeah. I just, don't want to help it. I don't know. I don't know. I think I get just frustrated sometimes, and I let my frustration speak instead of common sense.
Sure.
So I know there's things that take time. I know everything isn't all about instant gratification.
Right.
I understand the value of certain things taking a certain amount of time. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I just still struggle with, wanting it sooner than later. So
sure, we all want it now, right?
I think we've all been there in our life,
Oh my
one place
gosh,
or
yeah.
another.
You're preaching on the choir on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've shared, Glenn used the traffic as an example because I've talked about it many times because, I mean, there are other areas too, like when I'm waiting in line somewhere. I mean, I will do something online instead of going in someplace if at all possible. Like every year I have to renew my registration. And fortunately, they have a way to do it online where you just, they tell you what it is you need to pay, you pay it, and they send you the thing in the mail. It's so much better than going and waiting in the line at the DMV. And a lot of times, if I can order food out and just go pick it up, I mean, sometimes you have to wait in line for other people that ordered before you, and that's not a problem. But even waiting in line at a restaurant to be seated, you try to go later or earlier so there's not all the big dinner lines and stuff. But sitting there and them telling you it's going to be a 45 to an hour wait, I still I avoid that if I can, and it's in some ways it's ridiculous because if the dinner is good, it should be worth the hour wait if you need to wait. But it's just it can be frustrating. I'm in a way better place with this than I have been probably ever. I think in the past it was way more of a struggle for me. And then the biggest thing is that there is less outward frustration when things don't go your way. I've really learned to handle that better. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there aren't times that I react out of frustration. In fact, Jen and I went yesterday to a concert, the Envoys, my dad's Christian gospel, Southern gospel group. They were in the area. It was just like 6 miles down the road. And we went, and on the way back, and Jen has shared, thankfully, I'm not a maniac driver or anything, but she has shared with me sometimes she appreciates it if I go a little bit slower because I tend to drive a little faster. And I was trying to do that, and this bonehead was behind me and right on my butt. And right at that moment, Jen said something to the effect of, "Could you drive a little slower?" And I snapped at her, and I wasn't upset with her that she asked me. I was upset that this guy was right on my butt. And I was trying to get over into the right lane to get out of his way so I could continue to try to drive at a speed that is more comfortable for Jen. And I snapped at her. I totally did. Now I didn't yell, I didn't bang things or anything like that, but still, I don't like talking to her like that. I don't like using that tone. And she reacted obviously to that, and I wish I would have apologized immediately, but I didn't. And I kind of reacted defensively, and I said, "Well, this guy's on my butt. I was trying to get over. I didn't validate. I didn't apologize." And then I kind of moved on from it, and we got home, and she started making dinner, and I could just feel the heaviness. I could just feel. I mean, our connection is such that I can usually feel if there's something. I told her today when we talked about it that it was a
disturbance in the force.
Yeah, and I went up to her while she was cooking and put my arms around her, and we talked about a little bit, and she said, "You're not validating me," and
which I know Glenn will have some words.
Yeah,
good girl.
It's the way we do things.
So at what
we don't care what you think.
Pull your head out of your butt and apologize.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That happened in the kitchen, but it should have. I wish it had been earlier. It should have been earlier, but I did apologize, and it was fine.
And we talked through it.
But then today, after it was all over, and we were doing our devotions together this morning, we just talked about it again. It was a really great conversation, but that was about impatience, and it was about it was also, even though I was trying to do the right thing, because she has shared with me that she would prefer that I drive a little bit slower when she's in the car, and I was trying to do that, and then this guy was making it difficult for me. And the truth is, I should have just been in the slow lane because it irritates me. I was in the fast lane, and if I'd been in the other lane, there still might be someone on my butt, right? But it would have made more sense to me. Less sense than if I'm in the fast lane. Obviously, there's going to be people in the fast lane that want to go a little bit faster. And if I get irritated with other people about that, I know better. But that wasn't the point. The point is, if I had been in a more patient mindset, I could have just easily said to Jen, yeah, I understand. I'm going to get over here just a second and I'll slow down. I was trying to pass the person on the right so I could get ahead of them because they were driving really slow.
They were going real slow.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be behind them. So there was a reason why that happened the way it did, but I could have handled it better. And everything to me is learning. And Jen says to me all the time, she loves about me that I'm introspective. And she said to me this morning that, the other day I had done something, and she didn't react or anything, but I thought about it. And I thought, well, I didn't really like my tone. So I went back to her and said, hey, I didn't like my tone. And she said, well, I didn't notice anything. I was like, oh, okay, great. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes I think that maybe my tone was off and she says it wasn't. So that's all that matters. It wasn't off. Okay, great. But then in that case, my tone was off and I didn't take responsibility for it right away. And it would have been a lot better if I did. But overall, the idea is patience. If I had been more patient, I could have handled that better. And I'm continuing to work on it. And outward frustration wouldn't have happened either. So all that to say, I'm in a better place, but I'm not where I want to be at. So it shows me that there's still some work to be done leading toward that.
But you've made a lot of progress.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What about you, Jen?
I can relate. I just wanted to say I can relate.
Sure. What do you say, Jen? How different might these relationships look if you exhibit with a mindset of patience with less outward frustration when things do not go your way?
Gosh, there's so much I could say about this. This bleeds into a lot of things for me. Prayers being answered. We have our own timelines. Like we know better, like we know the best, Yeah. And even relationships, I think, gosh, there's just so many ways I could go with this, like friendships and myself with my creative stuff. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, like sometimes I want things to happen overnight. I just get very impatient. I want something to happen, some whatever. And I think that's having sort of an obsession with what is the word? The destination instead of the journey.
Ooh.
And so this whole time I've really been easing calmly into this place of really coming to an understanding that there is so much to learn in the journey. And if you're so focused on the destination and being impatient with yourself or other people or life or whatever it is, I think we have the ability to be so focused on the destination that we're missing all of these different lessons and beautiful things and hard stuff too, that can teach us things and help us grow along the way because we are so fixated, and I've done that the majority of my life. Not all the time, but whether being stuck in my head or stuck on a destination and not savoring the journey. I just have seen, and again, I don't get stuck here ruminating about this anymore, about the frustration that used to bring up. I'd get so irritated with myself. Now, being in a mindfulness place and being present has helped that so very much.
Yeah.
And being grateful and thankful for the present moment, trying to be grateful and thankful for each present moment, how much of a gift it is. Has really helped me kind of slow down in my thoughts and my actions and my expectations. It's helped my patience, which this question's about. But it's really calmed me down, which is a really key factor in the whole patience equation. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. And our society, is so fast paced too, in so many different areas, relationships and jobs and, when we're fixated on success sometimes and there's so many different ways this could go, and so many ways it does go, that I think it's almost like part of the equation to be impatient because of the way it's set up in society, even, that when we can learn to breathe and savor the present precious moments, it makes a big, big, big difference.
Yeah, it sure does.
So yeah, that would be my answer. I was going to say, hold on. How different might those relationships look if you exhibit with mindset of patience? Okay, well, I could say too, this whole thing that I mentioned with my family and my parents. So not being so fixated on my expectations or whatever, my needs not being met by my parents, you know what I mean? Just as an example, it allows me to be present with them and be grateful and thankful for the relationship I do have with them and the love that they do show me. And even focused more on giving, like Nez said earlier.
Yeah.
Instead of being so impatient about, well, I'm not getting exactly what I want from my family or my parents, like a grief. I just rolled my eyes big time. Did y'all hear it?
That's great.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It changed everything. Yeah.
It really did. Shifted everything.
Okay. Next one, simplicity. This encourages us to clear away excess to focus on what is important. Simplicity allows us to create more space for the people who matter most. Decluttering your mind allows one to offer full attention and presence, which are the most valuable gifts to any relationship. So think about your relationships. What things might you be able to let go of to be more available for deeper connections with yourself and others rather than the superficial? Let's ask Marisa first. What things might you be able to let go of to be more available for deeper connections with yourself and others rather than the superficial, if there's anything?
I really don't know. I'm struggling just to find time for what I need to do just as is.
Right.
I feel guilty that I can't give certain people or certain things more time and attention.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I'm trying to work out is that area of balance where, I can flow from one activity or thing or responsibility to the next, so I don't feel like I'm neglecting anything or you know what I mean, just so things feel more ordered.
Yeah.
And flows a little easier.
Oh,
I
sure.
don't want to have a state of panic or flipping out. I'm going to be 53. Do I really need to wonder where my copy of my medical card is for the millionth time? Come on. Stupid crap like that, silly. But I need to make sure things are getting organized, not just in my mind, but a place for everything, in my studio. It's still an ongoing process.
Yeah.
But I know we're all a work in progress.
Sure.
So there you go. I need to be more patient. I gotta not yell at people in traffic.
Right.
I've got to
Stop it. Stop
find
yelling
a
at people in
home
traffic.
for everything. I gotta stop it.
Yeah. Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it.
Jen, what about you? What things might you be able to let go of to be more available for deeper connections with yourself and others rather than the superficial?
I'd say expectations. I think this one's been a big one for me. I just was talking to you, Jason, the other day about this, like realizing that due to wanting, even as a small child, so badly to emotionally connect with people, like my family, and it not being there sort of created, I don't know which one it is, anxious attachment style I think that might be what it is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And I was sharing with you how I saw another video, and it was talking about how people with anxious attachment styles can sometimes also love bomb people.
Oh yeah, you
and that
mentioned that.
it's not just narcissists. And it blew my mind open, because I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was self-reflecting and thinking about how there's been times in my past where I have word vomited on people or overshared. And it was like in that moment, I realized that I was trying to create in a short amount of time a bond with somebody because of my attachment style, because I was so desperate to connect emotionally with people or find someone that would connect with me. And how in the past I've experienced it scaring people. And it makes sense to me, because I think when people have somewhat of a healthy attachment style, somebody oversharing the day they meet you, it could be a little like, a little concerning, a little off, because I think people that are healthy recognize that, a healthy relationship evolves over time. You share a little bit, you get to know each other a little bit more, and then you share a little bit more. There's like a natural, easing progression that happens. Yeah. And I just realized, I was like, wow, okay. And not just that, like on the flip side of that coin with oversharing, and I mean, I guess you could call it love bombing in a way, but I wasn't doing it to like manipulate people. Well, maybe I was in a different way than narcissists would subconsciously, but it attracts manipulative, toxic people because they want the info on you. Yeah. They want the inside scoop so that they can flip it and manipulate you with that insider information. So simplicity, I brought all that up to say, definitely simplicity when it comes to making friends and connecting with people. And I would also say simplicity in the sense of being more about giving than about my own needs. And being so wrapped up in that, because I unfortunately, for the majority of my life, I've been very preoccupied with my needs, just being honest.
Yeah.
And now it was out of a lack. Doesn't necessarily make it healthy or right.
Yeah.
But that's just, it's put my mind in such an easing place. I don't know. I just, it makes things so much more simple in my mind.
Yeah.
There's so much more peace and calm to that.
Yeah.
So that's my sharing.
Thank you, Jen. Glenn, what things might you be able to let go of to be more available for deeper connections with yourself or others rather than the superficial?
I think I've let go of pretty much all of those things. I've just learned to.
I saw it coming. I saw it coming like a horse down the track.
That's it. Yeah, I stripped it off with a paint stripper, and said, "Go to that lowest common denominator." I think the easiest part of doing this is just trust your intuition. You know when it feels right. Just go with that part of yourself. It's amazing how simple it makes it, because even when your head says one thing and your intuition says another, go run with your intuition and you'll be right. Is my way of keeping it simple. So short answer, but
that's okay.
I think Jen, I was just going to say to Jen, I think if you're attuned to yourself, I think when you meet other people, you get a sense of your connection pretty quickly, and then I think that means that you will share things with them up front, immediate, whereas with other people you won't say anything. I think we all connections are different. I think I remember when I met Sandra, she just laid it out, bang, that's it, here it is. And I thought, well, isn't that awesome? Someone just being authentic and just puts it out there.
Well, that's what I did.
Says, yep. Oh,
that's what I did.
This is me. That's it. This is me. Take it or leave it. Here it is.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Yeah. And I will say, my friend Jamie and I actually, as we were talking about this very thing that I mentioned, she was like, we were just discussing it back and forth. And she said, I think we did that to each other But because we had such similar backgrounds, with neglect and whatever, abusive marriages and stuff, it worked. It was like one of those situations where it worked, and neither of us were, toxic or manipulative people wanting to use the insider information for the other person's detriment. It just worked. It clicked. You know what I mean? So we're like, okay, I guess sometimes it works.
No, sometimes if you overshare with the right person, it can work, but you can't do it with everybody. I mean, if you overshare with the right person who wants to be in a relationship and you're compatible in that way, it can work. It just doesn't work for all people. That's all. That's great.
It's amazing how positive it can be if you're a forthright, upfront person with nothing to hide, and you just call it as you see it. It's so refreshing.
Oh my God!
The people are prepared to just come out and declare themselves. I mean, it's amazing. I think.
I wish everybody did it. I wish everybody was like that. They're not, but we're not responsible for other people. We're only responsible for ourselves. That's all we can take into consideration. My answer is going to be fairly short on this one, believe it or not. And I honestly can say that I haven't really struggled with the superficial. I would say the closest I got was in my mid-20s to early 30s. I was very content with the group of friends that I had. I wasn't trying to, I did meet new people when I went out and stuff, but I knew what I wanted and I would focus on that. And I wasn't trying to go too much deeper other than with the friends that I had. And things were fairly simple just by design. For those reasons, I've always been a fairly deep person and always desired deeper connections when they could be had. But I think during that period of time, I had convinced myself that deeper connections weren't available out there. Jen and I've talked about this, that there's a lot of people that they don't seem to want any deeper connection. So you can be a deep person and want that deep connection, but not be able to find anybody that wants that very same thing. People are, in my opinion, most people are shallow. That they care about what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live in, what kind of clothes you wear. And that's what I'm used to seeing. And then every once in a while you find a rare breed of person that looks beyond those things that you can have a deeper connection with. So my expectations have been pretty low when it comes to deep connections with people. And when I drove Uber and Lyft, I met these single serving friends. And so there wasn't, sometimes there'd be a deeper conversation. You get someone in the car who wanted to talk to you about more than the weather or what kind of music was on the radio and things like that. But overall, it was simple, because in a 15-minute car ride with some stranger, that's all you expect. You're not expecting some deep conversation. So therefore it's simplistic. Your expectations aren't out of the ordinary, and neither are theirs. So I spent a lot of time in that place. And then when Glenn and I started talking, I was very encouraged that I had met someone that did want to go deeper and didn't have a whole lot of interest in the shallow or the superficial. And it was wonderful. And then Jen came along shortly thereafter. Now she's rare in that she not superficial, but she can talk about fun things that aren't super deep, but she's a very deep person. And so our conversations can be light and fun and simple, and they can be really super deep, and it can switch in the middle of the same conversation. And it's the best. So honestly, I have friends and stuff, but I don't need anything else other than what I have. But if we met a couple that was open to a deeper connection, all that, I would be all for it. I'm not out there pounding the pavement for it. I'm not out there looking for it. If it comes, it comes. And that's simplicity to me, is not expecting something to come. If it's there, you're ready for it, prepared. Like my dad said, the focal light and the focal point in life is where opportunity and preparedness meet. And I always remembered that. I thought it was great. And I think it's true. Be prepared for something, but you're not out there trying to make anything happen. That's where I'm at with it. Okay, two more. One with questions. So the next one is gratitude. This is the one I've been waiting to talk about. I mean, all of them are great. This is the one I probably have the most to say, so I'll go last on this. But this encourages us to focus on the practice of recognizing and appreciating what one has rather than fixating on what is missing or desired. It is a teaching that a thankful heart can transform our perception of life, making every moment and every experience a gift. Oh my gosh, isn't that true? So the question, think about your relationships. When you think of some things that appear to be missing from your life, how might you turn the mental picture around to now perceive this as a gift? Let's start with Marisa first on this one. If you're willing and able.
I'm so thankful for so many things. Every day, if you wake up, if you're not in a hospital bed, if you have if you're able to go to the bathroom, there's things you can just look around and see. If you can open your eyes and see, my goodness, a million things to be thankful for.
Yep.
And I just feel more ashamed of myself when I get upset or impatient, because I need to focus more on things that I do have that are wonderful and gifts from God, things that are real blessings, things that there are people that wish, they could have or experience.
Yeah. Sure.
So.
Excellent. Thank you. Jen, when you think of some things that appear to be missing from your life, how might you turn that mental picture around to now perceive this as a gift?
I believe that I am right where I am supposed to be in this moment. And also what I mentioned earlier about being present and really understanding what a gift that is it's changed my focus. I think one of the reasons that I had such a hard time being in the present moment forever, it's because I've either, like I mentioned before, been running down hallways of the past or the future. I wasn't fully present. I was up in my head all the time. Not all the time, but you know what I mean, for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And being grateful and thankful. That's another way to keep yourself present in this moment.
Yeah.
And being in a place of gratitude. And it is a gift. Absolutely. That's my short answer.
Okay. Glenn, think about your relationships. When you think of some things that appear to be missing from your life, how might you turn that mental picture around to now perceive this as a gift?
Yeah, done that a while ago. I think I just said in the chat with and I was going to mention at the end, but I can say it now, that one of the people who I owe the most gratitude to is your mum, and she's probably the one that got me on the path of thinking, my goodness, how having gratitude can change your outlook completely.
Really?
Towards what's coming. Because you perceive it. You perceive how people have, if you're grateful for what they have given you and for the person that they are, it really does change it completely, because you're not thinking, oh, this didn't go the way I thought it would, or no. You can find in every situation, I know it's difficult sometimes, but you can find in most situations something that you can pluck out of there that they have given you and you can be grateful for. So, yeah. It is a mindset. But,
sure.
But yeah, I have to say it certainly changed my attitude.
Yeah.
Because you find that people are, if you look at it, people are actually giving. If a person's prepared to even converse with you, you should be grateful for that. That they're going to take the time to even talk to you.
Yeah.
So when they do, you listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't have to agree, of course, but you listen. There's something in it.
Sure.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. All right. So this one has been in the past confronting for me, and I'll just say before I go on my rant that I'm in a way better place now. So what I'm going to share is from my views from earlier on when this was first introduced. It's interesting that Glenn says got it from my mom. I mean, it makes sense. I remember how irritated I was every Thanksgiving that before we would eat, we would have to, as a family, we'd have to sit around and talk about what we're thankful for. And a lot of times I couldn't be bothered to think about what I was thankful for. I was always thinking I didn't have the things that I wanted. Didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have a job that I liked, didn't have a whole lot of money in my bank account. I'd mentioned already that various times I wasn't at the weight I wanted to be at, and blah, blah, blah. I was a lot of times very focused on what I was missing from my life. And in a lot of ways, there was a lot missing. And it irritated me when someone said, "Oh, be grateful for what you have. You've got a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food in my fridge, food in your fridge. What do you have? Oh, and there's other people in Africa and other countries that have it way worse than you." I was like, well, that doesn't mean that my situation's not difficult. I mean, there's a lot of things that I struggle with and a lot of things I don't have. I mean, my parents were constantly on my back, and I looked at my friends who parents couldn't be bothered to know where they are at any time. It was like, well, don't you have to check with your parents before you go out at 2 a.m.? My parents don't care what I do. I'm like, oh, I wish I had your parents. I mean, you name it. And I would look at it and say, well, it's the exact opposite for me. I don't have this. I mean, even when I got my license and I thought, okay, I'm 16, I'm going to be able to have freedom. No, they controlled where I went, what I did, and who I did it with. All that was, I thought it was going to be freedom, and it was the exact opposite. Just another means for them to control me. Now, this isn't about them. It's I always go to that place, but it's to make a point. I was not grateful. Well, I can't say for anything. I was grateful for some things. I was grateful God gave me the brain He gave me, and I thought my personality is pretty decent. I could make people laugh, and so it wasn't like there was nothing. But I would get irritated when someone would say focus on the gratitude. So when Glenn started talking about this in the write-ups, I wasn't as irritated as I used to be because I've matured, thankfully, moved forward a little bit in my life, and I'm look at it from a different perspective. But it's still, I could feel it like a little twinge, like be grateful, live in gratitude. What? I mean, do you not know what I've been through? I mean, haven't I been talking all these years about all the stuff I've been through, my divorce and PTL and my parents and all the stuff that I have regurgitated over and over and over again, talking about what I've been through in my life. I mean, I've got both my feet, I'm not deaf. And like I mentioned earlier, I have decent health and all of that. But it was easy to think from the other perspective about what was missing from my life. But even though it was still annoying to me, I felt like it was a challenge. So I started to take inventory. Now, having Jen changed a lot too, because that was a big piece for me. It was a big, to have someone that loves me and accepts me unconditionally, that's something you can be grateful for. And I realize not everyone has that. I'm just saying for me, that was something that I couldn't ignore. It was big enough for me that I couldn't ignore it. And out of that came a lot of other things that I was thankful for. But fortunately, I was able, with some work, to focus on these things. And the irony of it is when Jen and I pray, oftentimes I say the very thing that used to irritate me. I'm thankful for a roof over our head, clothes on our back, and food in our fridge. Those three things. And I could add health in there. Both of us are really healthy. Other people struggle with various things. I have a friend who's 2 years younger than me, and he has sleep apnea, he has diabetes, he has high blood pressure, and he is on a lot of medication and all of that. And I don't have any of that. So just in that instance alone, I have plenty of things to be grateful for. And it goes beyond that for me. All this growing and changing that I've done over the past 7 years, a lot of people go their whole lives and they don't get to a place of freedom like that. I'm grateful for that. I live in gratitude every day, and it changed everything for me. I do not focus on lack. And even in the area, like I've talked on the broadcast about our finances are always tight and all of that. Now, that is true, but I'm learning to not focus on that. I'm learning to focus on a life of abundance and changing the way that I talk to myself about all the things that I could say are not where I want them to be. I'm a rich man when it comes to love and health, abundant relationships and all of that. I couldn't be any happier. I mean, are there things that I wish were better? Well, sure. I wish I don't want to buy brand new cars and houses and clothes and all that. None of that matters to me. I would like to have enough money to be able to go with Jen on trips to different places. I would like to go out of the country. I would like to visit Europe and Japan and see the blossoms that Glenn talks about and see some of the stuff that he's talked about. I would just like to enjoy some more things. But if I never get to do that, I am a rich man. I'm a wealthy man because of all the things that I do have in my life. And I'm glad to be in a different place, because that other guy that's focused on just what he doesn't have, he's not a good guy to be around, especially when he's bitching and moaning about how bad everything is. And so thankfully I'm not in that place anymore. It's a completely different way of looking at things, and it's good. That's all I have to say about that. All right. We're winding it down. So there's one more thing. There's no questions related to this, but I'll read it. The middle way, this encourages us to take a balanced approach to life by avoiding extremes. The principle is not about mediocrity or compromise, but about finding a harmonious path that avoids the pitfalls of excess and deficiency. The middle way teaches us to navigate life's challenges by avoiding extreme behaviors and attitudes. It is about finding a balanced approach that sustains health and happiness. And to me, this is just balance. I've talked a lot about, in my opinion, that in life, everything is about balance, not going too far on one end or the other. And you can say it about politics. You can say it about religion. You can say it about the way you approach life. Find a balance. If you're in a balanced place, it makes things a lot easier. You're not too far on one end. You're not so rich that you don't even know what to do with your money, and you become like an Ebenezer Scrooge, or so poor that you're just in this place of want all the time. So Glenn says, we have all seen the effects of excessive indulgence and denial that leads to detriment. And that's exactly what that is, either side of that coin. When one thinks of just these few principles, non-attachment, acceptance, patience, simplicity, gratitude, and the middle way, I trust it self-evident how the adoption of such principles can change a life completely. Following on, it takes a strong heart to let go of habits such as anger, fear, retribution, affront, and irritation, etc. But it is a necessary step towards letting go of all that prevents a life of peace, calm, and harmony in the world. I closed the series with 2 songs, Tina Turner and Barry White, In Your Wildest Dreams. The link is in the description. Life is too short to carry burdens. Let them go and live your wildest dreams. Treasure every moment. And then I like both songs, but Aerosmith, the song I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. It's a great song. If you don't know it, give both songs a listen. I think you'll be grateful you did. And then we end with a quote: say no without guilt, say yes without fear, from our friend Paulo Coelho. There we go. All right. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of tonight's broadcast. Thank you, Glenn, for putting the time and effort into this series and to this last right up. And that's all, folks, for a little while. And I appreciated Marisa saying that if you want to make suggestions for future shows or future ideas or format changes, please send them, and we'll take everything into consideration. I think we are going to do something. Like I said at the beginning of the program, if you weren't here, have some ideas of what we're going to do next. But whatever we do, it's not going to be a panel like we've been doing. Maybe just Jen and myself, or just maybe me doing interviews or reading stories. I don't know, but we will let you know when we decide if we're going to do something. But we're going to take a break for a while, and I don't know how long the break's going to be, but I just want to say before I say goodnight that, again, I appreciate everyone that's taken time to listen to these broadcasts and listen to the playback. You're all appreciated. And if you like anything that we've done in the past, just do us a favor and share the link with someone that you think might benefit from it. And, if you stay subscribed, if we do something else, you'll get the notification. And we hope that if we do something else, you'd be part of the group in the chat or listen to playbacks moving forward. But thank you so much for all of you that have been a part of this broadcast for the past 2 years, and for some of you for the past 7 years. It's been great, and I will have fond memories of all of it. So thank you. Good night, everyone. Jen, would you like to take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples?
Absolutely. This episode was beautiful. Mwah, chef's kiss. I loved the discussion. I loved what everyone had to share. The write-up was great, Glenn. The questions were really poignant.
Yeah.
And I think even in answering them, I realized some things about my own journey, like, wow. Yeah. Not to be like big-headed or anything, but I do think it's good for us to recognize when we've made some progress. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. So yeah. Good night, guys. Have a great night, and we'll be in touch.
Yep. Thank you, Jen.
And it's been great. I've really appreciated everybody that's joined us on this journey, really and truly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Especially the panel.
Yep, especially the panel. Glenn.
Yeah, I'll say goodnight, and I do very much want to pay homage to Sandra and your mum for being my major inspiration for doing all this.
Sure.
You two guys, everyone else here too on the panel, of course, but those two to me have been a huge influence. And as I said, with each of them, I haven't missed a thing, and I'm so grateful off the charts for that. So with that, I will say thank you to all, and all the best. Good night.
Thank you. I want to say hello to Bottle Caps, and I think I missed someone else that came in the chat. We were in the middle of answering questions. No, I said hello to Bobby. Thank you, Bottle Caps. Bottle Caps made a comment. He said, if you included the people in the chat and had some answers for them, this channel would go viral. Yeah. And John says, have you considered inviting Elon Musk? I'm sure he's talking about. No, I'm sure he's too busy for this little corner of the YouTube universe, but thank you. Marisa, could you say goodnight to the peoples and close us down, please?
Wow. If it wasn't for TSL, I wouldn't have gotten 3 more beautiful friends. Oh. Thank you guys so much for taking me on board and letting me be part of something that's really been a blessing to me. Oh. And I hope that other people have enjoyed what we've all worked on together. And I'm glad I got to do it. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping to be a part of whatever might be in store next, however that may be appropriate. So would love to continue to see us do something. but something new, something different, that would be wonderful. I'm certainly open to that. So, thank you everybody who's supported us. Thank you everyone who's shared us out. And please reach out to any of us if you have a story you'd like to share or have us help you share, or you have any suggestions for us. Now's the time. Let us tell your story here live on True Story Live. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Glenn, for ending us out with another awesome write up. I love you guys. Thank you. Have a good rest of your week. Goodbye from my cat.
I thought that was a kitty.